So may I come in?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Yes, Tushar. Please introduce yourself to the members.
Sir, my name is TUSHAR SHARMA. I'm from Delhi. I've done aerospace engineering from IIT Bombay. After that, I joined Ola. In Ola, I was working on corporate strategy for Ola Electric. In during this interaction, I got an opportunity to interact with few government servants from the government of Karnataka. This interaction inspired me to join civil services, and that's when I decided to that I would be willing to pursue a career in civil services.
Okay, so tell us about your experience in IIT.
Sir,
Learnings experiences.
in IT, I got to learn different aspects of my personality. One was purely academic, where I was learning about aerospace engineering, basically aircrafts and spacecrafts. Apart from this, on the extracurricular side, I was working with a student submarine team. I devoted 4 years to that team. In that team, at the end, I became team leader, and this gave me different aspects of how an organization is working. So, being working from the down to the top of an organization gave me a different kind of exposure to the organizational structure from above and also from the bottom. Apart from this, I got to enjoy very educated and very smart people around me. So that interaction also helped me develop my personality.
Okay,
Were you ragged? Sorry. Were you ragged?
Uh,
Were you ragged
Ragged.
in college? When you
So
were in college?
in IT, the ragging aspect is very strict. So in order to reduce ragging, they assign a special mentor, and they also assign a faculty advisor to every freshie. At the same time, they all
Aerospace engineering to Ola, how did that work?
uh,
Aerospace engineering, I think, is aero.
yes,
Space, I think, is space.
space,
Ola, I think, is
ground.
I might be wrong.
In fact, you can add that I worked on a student submarine team, which is underwater.
Oh, I thought the submarine team was a swimming committee.
No, sir, it is a robotic submarine. So we build around 50
So you
kg
did
of
everything
submarine,
in college except land.
except
And
land.
then you took a job in a territorial
Yes,
data
sir.
company.
Yes, sir.
How did that happen, sir?
So there are different aspects to it. So from a very practical aspect, aerospace companies are not that often. They don't come to IITs that often. In India, aerospace sector in general is lagging. And the only company that comes, ISRO, it comes after around 3 months of the main.
Then would you say you made a bad decision in opting for this stream?
Sir, actually, this was a forced decision. So I liked aerospace engineering. It's not like that, but I wanted to originally join computer science, but I was not given an opportunity because of my rank. So I ended up with aerospace engineering.
Civil, mechanical?
Civil mechanical, I personally don't like civil engineering. Mechanical engineering, I was okay, but again, didn't get an opportunity to go over there.
Okay, so going back to your schooling, so your mother is a principal in a government school. But when I see your schooling, you study in St. Joseph Academy. So why not in government school?
Sir, actually in 1990s there is a trend that parents have to educate their children in English medium school. So my mother and the government school in which my mother works is primarily Hindi medium school. So I think that is one of the major reason why my parents put me into a private educated school and rather than a government school.
So can you recall the current ranking of IIT Bombay in terms of what global rankings of universities?
Sir, I'm not sure about the exact ranking, but it is somewhere around 150 to 200.
Okay. So what inspired you made a shift from what may be a job in a technical sector to UPSC?
Sir, from a technical sector to UPSC, the journey was actually gradual. So initially, I was of the opinion that a technical person should not go to civil services because that would be wasting a seat in the technical institute. But as I interacted with the government servants from the government of Karnataka, I thought that it is also a good career choice, and that my technical expertise that I gained in IT and also in Ola would be of use in civil services, because I believe that a policy maker who is also good in technology can actually use technology to build better policies, and therefore I never felt that the initial thought that it would be wasting a seat is actually correct.
Okay, so transition from the technical background to humanities background, that is more or less UPSC. So what are the changes that you've seen in your approach and personality?
So I would say it changed me a lot. Initially, I was good in solving integrals and solving complex mathematical problems. But if anyone was to ask me a few basic questions about social sciences or how to solve a social issue, for example, how to solve food problem in India, my approach would be purely technical, that you produce more food and food problem would be solved. However, now after reading a lot about social sciences, I understand that society works to some extent independent of technology, and to some extent technology also have similar flaws that a society has, and therefore social problems need more social solutions apart from technical. The technology helps, but it is more or less a tool in the process rather than the ultimate solution. So this was major thing that I feel I have understood while trying to grasp humanities, that uh, I my personality has become more holistic and I see society in more nuanced manner.
Okay, so assuming that now you know the Indian society better, you should also be knowing the importance of what a powerful democracy. So how would you rate what India is functioning as a democracy?
So there are different aspects to Indian democracy. So from a purely procedural point of view, Indian democracy is very strong. Indian elections are free and fair, and the fact that even the most strong governments fall because of the mandate of the people shows that Indian elections are to a large extent fair, and they can change. They really reflect the mandate that people try to give to the government. So from that procedural aspect, Indian democracy is very strong. But when we come to more substantive aspects of democracy, for example, freedom of speech, and also, for instance, in India, democracy is also secular. But when you see the major narrative that we see, there is a lot of communalism in India. So from these substantive issues, I think there is a lot of scope that India can improve its democratic credentials.
Okay, so
Uh, you opted, I think, second preference is Indian Police Service.
Yes, sir.
What if your senior forces you or gives a very strong command to enforce an order which is patently illegal? What would you do?
Sir, I
For
believe
example, fire at a crowd.
so. For this example, let's say firing at a crowd. So, as far as I understand, a junior can expect the senior to give a command, but that command is only binding when the senior gives it in writing rather than
Senior
orally.
cites emergent circumstances. There is no time, neither method to communicate in writing.
Sir, even in that case, I would believe that one should use one's own discretion in order to understand that firing at a crowd which is not outrightly violent may not be the right choice. And rather than this,
Should death penalty be abolished?
sir, death penalty, there are different aspects to it. From a very social aspect, death penalty should not be abolished because uh, because there are some crimes that society feels one should not have committed, and they demand that one should be given death penalty. Specifically speaking, from judicial point of view, there are rarest of the rare cases where death penalty is logical and that penalty can be given.
Your view, please. I know the both sides. What is your view, sir?
So, in my opinion, as of now, we should not abolish death penalty right now, right away. But slowly and gradually, government should work, judiciary should work towards reducing instances of death penalty given, and then at a later stage, we
Should
can.
death penalty be given to minors?
No, sir, absolutely not.
Why not?
Sir, minors are developing, and in the development stage, they can commit mistakes.
So you're saying we should focus on rehabilitation.
Yes, sir.
Repeat offender minor, both cases or multiple cases of sexual offences against other minors. Then,
Sir, still, a minor has an ability to develop himself or herself, and therefore juvenile delinquency should not be treated as a equivalent crime as an adult.
Views on police reforms, the case name, and a couple of steps which you think should be done.
Sir, the case that I remember is it was in 2006. Jay Prakash, no,
It's fine. Prakash Singh. And this
Prakash Singh
It's
case.
not imperative to remember the exact case. It's totally fine.
So,
Main point, as per you.
so the main point was that it was trying to.
Actually, I tell you what. I know the cases. I'm saying, what are your 3 steps which should be done for police reforms?
Sir, in my opinion, police should be given independence, more independence regarding its own staffing requirements. So there are instances where senior police officers have been shuffled a lot because of changes in government. Second, I think Havaldar's job should be improved. Their working conditions should be improved. They are excessively overworked. Third, I think police should be sensitized towards talking to common people, because in democracy,
Separation of investigation from policing.
yes, sir, policing and investigation wing should be separated so that different specialities and specialization should be developed in each wing so that they can do their work better.
So why PSIR as an option?
Sir, my aerospace engineering is not available as an optional, so I had to go with another optional. So I looked at all the optional list and I shortlisted 5 optionals. Then I gave around 5 days to each optional, studying them. And after this exercise, what I felt that PSIR is a good subject for me. I have an inclination towards it and a natural interest. So I chose political science and international relations as an optional.
Okay. Achha, what about your take on leadership? So what are the basic qualities of a good leader?
So from the experience that I had being a student leader in the submarine team, I can say the qualities of a team leader are twofold. One, team leader has a responsibility towards outside world, so he should have qualities like marketing, trying to get more funding for one's organization, be more presentful of organization's achievement towards the world. So this is one aspect of team leader. The other aspect of team leader is quite opposite to this, and it is towards its own team. So over there you cannot go on to say your achievements to the teammates also. So over there, one team leader needs to understand that sometimes team members have very personal issues and not exactly formal issues, so they would not state these issues upfront. So it is team leaders' job to understand and interact with team members regularly, so that team leader can understand the problems of the organization. Team leader also has to give more delegated powers to the team members so that they can have better sense of ownership and job satisfaction. So in general, I would say that
Which of these does Bhavish Agarwal of Ola does not have?
I get your point. Recently, there have been a lot of attrition in Ola, so there are cases that Bhavesh is not a good leader. I have personally interacted with Bhavesh, and I think he's good in a lot of things. But one thing which he's not good at is trusting his team members. So he usually does not trust his juniors, and that
Do
causes.
you think it is appropriate to criticize your former employers?
Sir, I think one can criticize and openly state his views to anyone, even if he's a formal employee. Even if Bhavesh was sitting, I would give an honest review to him that maybe you need to work upon your
You say
trusting
your
skills.
personality is one of being a forthright person. And
Sir,
calling a spade a spade.
I would not say it's exactly forthright, but I think being honest to someone else about, especially about their
In front of
outcome.
others, Bhavish is not present in the
Sir, Bhavesh is not exactly a person. It's entirely a private individual. He's a very senior executive of a very big company, so he has public attributes to his personality, and therefore I believe to be comfortable to speak about his personality.
No? Sir?
Okay, so what I've seen that you have already acknowledged there is a huge transition in your approach towards the society when you shifted from technical background to UPSC background. So, and most of the IT people have been managing big businesses across the world, they have been CEOs. And now we talk about just in sustainable world. So, do you think it's what imperative to include more humanities disciplines in what IT, which can be made compulsory in terms of education, making them a sound individuals beyond technical?
Yes, sir. I believe education should be more multidimensional because the future world is going to be a world where you need diverse experiences and diverse knowledge set to solve problems. And therefore, introducing more courses in ITs from
His question is,
humanities.
should it be mandatory or optional?
I'm
His
sorry, sir.
question is, should it be mandatory? Humanities studies in ITs and technical institutions and medical institutions, etc. should be mandatory or optional?
As of now, also, three courses in IITs are mandatory from humanities side, and I believe increasing that number is a good thing.
Okay, should hijab be allowed?
Sir, dress code regulations, specifically hijab, I think they should be allowed if the woman faces a dilemma that either she can go wear a hijab and then go to study, or not wear a hijab and not be allowed to study. So in such cases, I believe that hijab should be allowed, and also from a general point of view, dress codes should be aligned to cultural and religious beliefs of a community. So if a community believes that they need to wear a hijab, then they should be allowed to wear a hijab. However, adult female choices, for example, if an adult female does not want to wear a hijab, that should be respected.
And one question, you have born and brought up in Delhi and you studied in Mumbai. The major differences between the two cities, that the things that you like about Mumbai, that you may be liking about Delhi, some similar, some difference.
Sir, one thing that I loved about Mumbai is people over there are a lot more disciplined. So even if you are standing in an auto rickshaw queue or you are standing in a bus stand, they naturally form a queue over there in Mumbai. But that is not the same in Delhi. So this aspect I liked about Mumbai, but there are different aspects. For example, Mumbai people are more formal and they are more fast paced in their life rather than Delhi people. So over in Delhi, the uh, you can say work life balance is more tilted towards life in Delhi rather than pure work in Mumbai. But this may also reflect my biases because I was a bachelor in Mumbai and I interacted with mainly bachelors, whereas I have a big family in Delhi. So there are my biases to my perspective also.
How did Bobby Fischer beat the Soviets?
Sir, Bobby Fischer was actually a very good chess player. He was a chess prodigy. So he devoted his life to studying chess. So I think when Bobby Fischer beat Soviet, he actually showed his mastery over chess.
Since you wrote a studying chess theory, the hints I'm asking you. Any particular thing that Fischer did
Any particular thing? Uh,
beat the Soviets and become such a master in chess?
so I think Fischer was a better positional player than Soviets, and therefore he was able to gain advantage over the chessboard.
Okay. Um, and what are your views on AI coming into chess?
Sir, computers have come before AI. Even computers were dominating chess, and after AI, the
Shark, Bluefin,
uh, Stockfish.
Stockfish,
Stockfish is the best computer chess player. That is
Google, right?
not Google. It's an open source. Google has AlphaGo, Alpha, Alpha Zero. So AI coming into chess engines actually provide insights about the game to the chess players. So the advanced players, GM level
Let me
players.
see. So much AI, ML is coming up. So many jobs are, especially ChatGPT, you hear articles every day. So many jobs might be threatened in the future. Do you think it's a good idea to institute UBI or Universal Basic Income?
Sir, as of now, universal basic income choice for India is actually very practical choice because India does not have financials to support a UBI. Therefore, India may not be able to support UBI even if it wants to. But speaking on the aspect that whether we should go for an UBI or not, I think we should go for a targeted UBI because UBI provides people with basic income so that they can ensure that human dignity.
How do you intend the filtering for the targeting?
So targeting could be happened based upon surveys. So SECC survey could be a starting point, but further surveys are
Targeting based on
required.
economic criteria?
Social and economic criteria both.
Okay. Sir,
Okay, so tell me the concrete steps which are required to be taken to deal with Delhi pollution.
Air pollution or Yamuna pollution?
Air pollution, then we talk about river pollution.
Okay. So, Delhi's air pollution, major reason for air pollution is vehicular exhaust and thermal power plants. So, reducing vehicular exhaust, it can be one way. How we can do this is by promoting more metro penetration in Delhi, more bus transportation in Delhi. For example, there is reports that say Delhi government needs to buy 7,000 more buses. So, providing investment in public transport could reduce vehicular exhaust. Carpooling could be another way. On the other aspect of thermal power plants, I think it is time that Delhi should shut down thermal power plants and should be importing green power from the outskirts of Delhi, and also should invest more into solar energy, where Delhi government can generate some part of its power needs by itself. So doing these steps, one can reduce overall pollution in Delhi. But then in winters, when the stubble burning happens around in Punjab and Haryana, then the pollution in Delhi rises, not because of internal factors. So over there, a cooperative federal model needs to be developed so that Delhi government can work with government of Haryana and Punjab in order to stop stubble burning, or at least reduce stubble burning, to protect the air quality of Delhi.
And what about the pollution in the river, Yamuna River?
Sir, Yamuna River pollution is mainly due to unprocessed, untreated sewage waste. So municipal sewage waste, and also some industries in Delhi produce waste. So these all waste goes to Yamuna, is dumped in Yamuna without being treated. So we should invest in more sewage treatment plants so that the effluents that are going into Yamuna river are reduced and the quality of the river is improved. Another factor to improving Yamuna, however, this requires a bigger approach, is that the flow of Yamuna is low, which naturally reduces its natural replenishing qualities. So one can increase flow in Yamuna by allowing dams to flow by reducing the dams stoppage on the water. So this would improve the quality of Yamuna river further.
Okay, linked with what river transportation. So, what are the problems and prospects of inland waterways?
Problems and prospects.
Prospects.
So prospects of inland waterways are multiple. Water transportation is the best mode of transportation, speaking from economic point of view. In fact, US has been developed because US has a very good inland water transport system. So developing inland water transport system is good from a economic point of view as well as from environment point of view also, because it reduces the carbon emission intensity of our goods that we consume. But speaking from a challenge point of view, for example, Ken Betwa link passes through Kana National Park. So over there, this national park is partly being submerged because we are developing a link between two rivers. So such negative environmental factors are there, and they should be reduced to in order to make the inland water system more sustainable in long run.
Okay.
Favorite book and author?
Favorite book and author? Harsh V. Pant, Indian Foreign Policy Overview.
International.
International author. So, I have not read that book, but I would love to read that book. It is Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power.
Okay. Indian, talking about Indian foreign policy, tell me something. Why do you think Pakistan will never get along with India?
Will never get along with India. So ideologically speaking, Pakistan and India have what we call as identity clash, because Pakistan was born out of India. Therefore, Pakistan will always try to assert its independent identity rather than working along with India. But speaking from more practical point of view, Pakistan has a deep state problem. So the army of Pakistan, especially after 1971 loss, they need to save their face.
Documentary.
Favorite documentary? Sir, I actually don't view documentaries that much.
A historical figure, international, who's not living, Who has inspired you a lot? Inspire, admire.
International figure. Sir, I would believe Machiavelli, the foreign policy expert.
Vocabulary.
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir, although there are negative connotations with Machiavelli, but the fact that he sees the world of power in a very open manner and in a very amoral manner. He sees what there is to see.
Understand. And who do you think should select Supreme Court or High Court judges? The
Sir,
government or the judiciary itself?
Sir, in the case of India, especially because we have a history of 1975 emergency and HR Khanna case, I think government selecting the judges is not the right way. Judges should select judges themselves. Although this is against the constitutional idea that we have, but I believe this has worked to protect our democracy once, and therefore it is a
collegium system.
collegium system is not mentioned in the constitution. It is an outcome of three judges case.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so regarding the foreign policy, so how to counter China? In terms of what the boundary issues, in terms of what the domination, circling of India, in terms of what global forums.
So, our main approach towards China should be to wait and watch and to develop our own domestic policies. So, if we develop economically and if we develop domestic militarily, we would in time be comparable to China, as major projections show that we are going to be Chinese economy is only growing at a less than 5% rate, whereas we are going around 6 to 7% rate. So, using these projections, I would say that we should give our own development some time in order to balance out these inequality that we have vis-a-vis in national power of China and national power of India. But right now, I think government current approach is good. Whenever China tries to heat up our border, government also reacts proportionately to that, so that we can have a status quo maintained on the border, and we can have a stalemate situation on the border. But on an international sphere, I think aligning more towards Western sphere, specifically USA, deepening our strategic partnership with these countries, Quad countries, I2U2 platform. These are a mechanism for government to balance China using external balancers, so that we can get the time needed for our own self-development in future to gain a parity situation vis-a-vis China.
Okay, don't you think that aligning too much with the West will be antagonizing China more? And on the other side, what can be the neutral actions which India can take? For example, becoming dominating leader of some of the institutions which India can drive.
Sir, on the question of antagonizing China, I think the choice that India faces is what would you do if someone is coming to fight with you? You have to respond in a manner that protects your national security and national interest. So over there, question of antagonizing China does not arise, and I think going with US is still the right choice, even though it does not bode well with China. On your second part of gaining a dominating situation on international fora, India's situation and India's status on international fora is dependent upon India's domestic power, India's economic power, and also its military power. So, to gain an advantage on international fora, one needs to gain an advantage in self-development priorities. Apart from this, India already has a significant status in international fora, especially when it comes to the third world, because India has major soft power with respect to third world.
Okay, do you think that NAM has got a utility in 21st century in raising India's stature?
So recently, India's foreign policy, the way it is moving, shows that it is moving away from NAM. But I believe that India should still invest diplomatic capital in NAM, because NAM is a very big platform. It has around 70 plus members. Also, because India has an declared declared objective that it wants to have a permanent seat. So, as per Article 108 of UN Charter, we need two-third majority. So over there, such a big platform and becoming a leader of third world is a good strategy to achieve that aim. So from this point of view, I believe that India should invest in NAM, but at the same time, India can also invest in other platforms like Quad and you can say Indo-Pacific concepts, so that it can also balance its current national interest and also try to balance its soft power with its aims of hard power.
So why aren't we hearing about G15 of late?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware about G15.
Why did Mao Zedong attack India in 1962?
So there are multiple reasons why Mao attacked India in 1962. One of the trigger was that India gave asylum to Dalai Lama, which Mao took as a threat to its China's sovereignty. Other, Mao has a policy of what is called as palm and five finger policy. So it was in sync with his policy ambitions that he wants to gain a sky chain and other areas in order to strengthen China. Then there is also a fact that Mao was facing political pressure because of some of his revolutions that he wanted in China were failing, and therefore he wanted to divert national attention and gain political mileage in domestic politics of China,
Good judgment, which you disagree.
which I disagree with. So I'm sorry, I'm unable to recall such a judgment.
Okay, no problem. Tell me two reasons for which the Constitution of India should be abolished.
Should be abolished like whole.
A to Z. Lock, stock, and barrel.
Sir, one aspect that I feel Constitution of India has got quite wrong is that it openly declares itself to be secular, and I believe that Constitution of India should declare itself to be more like secular aspect. Although Indian secularism is different from Western secularism, but when we say secularism, everyone feels that Constitution is not protecting their own religion. So apart from this, I believe that rather than this, Constitution should say that we have a national list of religion and all these religions come under that national list of recognized religions, and this way every person from those religious community would feel that Constitution is there to secure their religion, and this would in turn reduce, you can say, reduce the communalism that we see, which is an outcome of people fearing for their own religion. So given that Indian society is to some extent traditional, improving.
Any other criticism of the Constitution in your mind?
So in my mind, language policy of the Constitution is also a bit shy. Rather than declaring, I believe that Indian Constitution should declare that we have multiple national languages. So one language, one
The
nation,
Constitution is too verbose,
too detailed,
too lengthy.
too lengthy. Yes, sir. I believe that Constitution should be a document which is simple and can be understood by a common man. So if a common person cannot even understand what is written in the Constitution, how can he be expected to follow the spirit of the
In
Constitution?
your household, who inspires you the most?
So my father and mother both inspires me.
If you had to choose.
Because they are not there, so I would say my father inspires me.
Why? Why the preference towards the fraternal inspiration?
So-
The paternal inspiration.
Sir, my father,
What does he do, by the way?
he's an assistant vice president in Delhi Electricity Board.
Why him?
So he shows me how to deal with the outside world. So my mother provides me instincts about how to deal with one's own emotion. But when it comes to functional aspects of one's life, then I think my father teaches me a lot about how to be more efficient, how to be more functional in one's life.
Sir?
So student politics has been a feature of maybe institutes like JNU, Delhi University, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Why not IITs?
I'm sorry, sir, I did not.
Student politics, we associate with what JNUs, Delhi University or TISS Mumbai. Why not with IITs?
Sir, I believe why student politics is associated with liberal colleges rather than technical colleges is because that the discourse that is inside the college is more relevant for the outside world in liberal colleges. For example, if you go to IT, they would be discussing about Jacobian matrix. All of this makes no sense to a common man. But when you go to JNU, they would be discussing about social problems, which general public could understand, and therefore student politics of these colleges are more, you can say, more more, they come to public life more often than ITs.
So will not the introduction and focus on humanities subject will open up the IITs also for student politics?
Yes, sir. I believe because this was increase the social discourse in IITs. So definitely this would be an outcome.
Okay, so will it make them strong in terms of what dealing with the society?
Sir, I think it would definitely make them strong. Free and open discussion about any topic should be encouraged in a democracy which believes in freedom of speech. And therefore, considering this fact, uh, even if the student politics of a college is being discussed in traditional mainstream societies, I think that is also a good point. It also gives opportunity to the college communities to self-reflect upon their own opinions.
You get posted in a, let's say, not very, in a fairly backward area, and you have to promote, your mandate is to promote female entrepreneurship. What would be the three steps you would take? Take your time. There's no hurry.
So my first step would be to strengthening the self-help group movement of that area, because SHGs provide an opportunity for females to take up income generating activities.
Second.
Second priority would be to educate female of that area, so that in long run they can develop skills needed for them to be more productive in the economy. And my third priority would be to tackle social issues regarding working women.
Any steps you would take inspired by Muhammad Yunus, for example?
Sir, I'm not aware about Mr. Muhammad Yunus.
Grameen Bank, Bangladesh, Nobel
Nobel Prize. Yes, sir. Microfinancing could be a way.
Okay, sir.
Do you think that frequent transfers distorts the orientation of the officer from just working for the people and just looking for postings?
Yes, sir. Frequent transfer is a bad thing when it comes to how an officer works in an environment, because when an officer is posted, he needs some learning time of that area. So until and unless he understands what his district is about, how can we expect an officer to work efficiently in that district? So an officer should be given some time. In fact, 10th report of second ACR points out that majority of the officers are not given a posting more than 2 years. So going with the Gujarat model, a guarantee of 2 years of in senior management postings is a good way, because that gives organization some stability and some orientation towards their own issues.
Give me two reasons to abolish the civil services.
Sir, civil services, are you talking about all civil services?
Absolutely.
Sir, I think until and unless government will be there, there will be civil servants.
You're from IIT, what is it? We are free market people.
Acha, from that point of view, so I think neoliberal aspects of governance is not ideal. A society needs some institutions to self-regulate.
Give me a name of some famous neoliberalism people.
Neoliberal.
Classical economic people.
Uh, Robert Nozick is one scholar that I remember. Other is Thomas Friedman, worked on Hong Kong's economic policies. Then Hayek is also is called as father of neoliberalism.
Okay. Uh, if let's say you were asked to choose between Indian police service and Indian foreign service, you give a preference to police service. Why?
Sir, I believe that if you see problems of India, there's a lot of instability with respect to law and order situation in India, especially when you start looking at the very grassroots level of the society. So from that point of view, I believe my services would be more have a bigger impact on the society when I would be an Indian police service rather than an Indian foreign service officer.
Any learnings you would, let's say, have from the founder of Singapore?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not aware about the topic that much.
Say, science and scientific temper are completely two different things. So, can you differentiate and can you tell me whether science is the only way to promote scientific temper or what are the other ways?
Definitely, sir. I can differentiate. In fact, the how I was before this humanities can be said as a difference between science and scientific temper. I can solve great Jacobian matrix, but if you were to ask me basic questions regarding caste, I would go blank. So, promoting scientific temper is more like promoting common sense and promoting basic human ideas within the society, whereas promoting science is more about teaching hardcore science and math skills to the people. So this is the major difference, and because how I described the difference, definitely believe that scientific temper could be promoted within the society without promoting science, although we should promote both, but these two are independent of each other to some extent.
Do you think India should abandon its nuclear weapons program?
Sir, I think India should not abandon its nuclear weapon program because the realist aspect of international politics demand that India should be aware about its own vulnerabilities, especially because China has a nuclear weapons program. Pakistan also has a nuclear weapon program. So it's not a good option for India to abolish its nuclear weapons program.
What did Oppenheimer say when he first saw the nuclear detonation?
Sir, he quoted a Sanskrit quote, which I remember English translation of it. He said, "Now I become death." It reflects. It sounds to me grammatically incorrect.
Now I have become death.
Ah.
I am Shiva.
Okay, so committees and commissions. Committees and commissions are usually headed by retired judges or maybe retired bureaucrats. Many times when they're immediately retired, so we definitely question their neutrality. So, do we require a law which should be properly defining the cooling off period?
Yes, sir.
Even for judges.
Yes, sir. Because we are talking about judges. Uh, Recently, there was case with Shri Deepak Mishra, who joined Rajya Sabha just after retiring. So I believe,
Reconsider the name, please.
sir, I think Deepak Mishra is the right name. But if I'm not, I might be not
Ranjan
remembering.
Gogoi.
Ranjan Gogoi. Okay.
Go on.
So, so there should be a cooling off period because it provides a sense of neutrality. Even though there may be neutrality in current program also as well, but until and unless that neutrality is actually seen by people, how can they be sure about whether there is neutrality or not?
Tell me one quality for which I should admire Adolf Hitler.
So one quality for which Adolf Hitler should be given credit is to uh, strengthen his own country. So Germany after World War One, especially because there was excessive inflation and economic ruin.
Why was there excessive inflation?
So France imposed strict conditions upon Germany, and they were to give away their coal. It was actually a total allied countries were imposing.
Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, Treaty of Versailles.
Okay. Tell us about one weakness of yours.
One weakness of mine. Sir, I think I easily trust other people. So this could be misused by other people in order to manipulate me,
Tell us something about yourself which you do not want us to know.
which I do not want. First of all, it's ironic question, but if I were to say that what I don't want you to know, obviously my weakness would fall into that category. So actually, I used to say this that my transition from being a science student to corporate uh, to Ola has been quite an organic field, but I think it was more like an opportunistic move from my end, and it was going with the flow.
You're going with Adolf Adam Smith said, there's no problem in that. Adam Smith also said the same thing. When you promote your self-interest by the invisible hand, you promote your societal interests.
No, actually, it was not like I'm thinking a lot about my career choices. Companies came, I gave the interview, and I went with the flow.
Understand? So,
Okay, so why we should be selecting? Give me 5 reasons.
So I think there are twofold aspects of why I can be a good civil servant. One is my skills that I have developed over the years, especially working as a team leader, and also my technical skills could be put to use uh, in a civil service which is developing more technical expertise and domain specification. On the other hand, civil service requires a set of ethical principles and ethical framework on the part of civil servant. And I think my honesty, my integrity that I have seen in myself over the years show to me that I do have that moral attributes that are required for a civil servant. And therefore, to conclude, I would say that both functional skills and moral attributes, I have those things in me to become a civil servant. And if there would be something that I can improve upon, I will definitely work upon it.
no reasons why we should not select.
So I'm a bit talkative, and I think civil servants require to be.
Experience a little bit of that.
I think civil servants require to be more tactful would be a good way. Second, that civil service obviously it gives diversity, but sometimes it can be boring. You just so the bureaucratic aspect of the service can be boring, and I may not personally like it a lot doing all the paperwork. So that could be a problem.
Okay, so thank you, and it was a good conversation, and thank you for this.
Thank you, sir.
धन्यवाद.